Team, this is a quick demo of the Locktech Kwikset Smart Key Decoder attachment for doing the Schlage SC1 keyways. It is formally known as the LTK SK-SC1. And all I've done so far is remove the top here so we can get a view of what's in it. So first thing that I see is it has a new set of spacers as well as a secure lanyard. It comes tied to the instructions. But I also see that they have a kit here that if you wanted to secure it to your tool, they have the replacement kit with the lanyard, with the hook, as well as the shrink wrap for doing so. So here on the front, it tells us that the spacer orientation is particular. And what it looks like here is that this side will face the lock. This is the side that you'll insert the decoder, and it is oriented thusly. You can see these two little standoffs help it to calibrate exactly to where it needs to go. Has the contact information and AccuReader.com. Now we're going to open it up. And this has the 10 depths that this tool can read. What I've noticed is that from 0, if you count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 concave little pieces. And if you look at it, this is a complete picture of a wafer with this blue line. So those are each of the little notches that are cut out for each of the space. So a 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4. A 3 conveniently has 1, 2, 3, so it makes it a mnemonic. 4 has 1, 2. Then when we get to 5, what we're actually looking at is the placement of this big notch that appears at the bottom of that wafer. And a 5 is barely visible on the bottom, and I can still see one of the notches at the top. A 6, I can now clearly see the entire notch, but I cannot see the little divot at the top. A 7 is almost halfway, slightly less on the bottom than it is on the top. A 8 is clearly higher than the halfway point, and a 9 is at the very top. We'll check the back out. It says to observe wafer movement, play by lightly turning the cylinder clockwise and counterclockwise. Return the cylinder to center before decoding, then use the chart. Use the images of the wafers in the chart to find the closest representation of the image being viewed on the screen. The blue box, which we just looked at here on the far right-hand side, on the full wafer diagram shows the visual portion of the wafer when viewed through the scope. All 10 wafer depths are represented by different sections of this blue box. Here it indicates the red box indicates the decoding area. So from the top fuzzy part to the bottom fuzzy part, everything visible in that red is the decoding area. Nothing outside of the box matters. Next piece we have is the Locktech LTK SK-SC1 replacement key. So to change the blade, I'm going to use a 5/64 Allen wrench. It's a common Allen wrench used for lots of typical locksmith set screws, and I'm going to remove it completely. Going to go to the other side. Same thing, lefty-loosey, nothing fancy about it. I'm going to try to keep that on the Allen. And now I can remove the key and the clamshell. And what you can see is the two contacts and the matching contacts here. So when it applies, these two spring-loaded pieces will come in contact with these two contact pieces. So I'm going to lay it down flat. What I find is push it all the way to the bottom. Bring out your clamshell. Secure it. Here I'm going to press and hold till my light comes on and make sure that my LED is illuminated. I'm going to use my same screw and Allen. I'm just going to barely snug down one side. Going to manually put the other one in. The little ball head Allen wrench actually makes it a little bit easier. And I'm just going to snug each one. And a little torque pattern back and forth. Now it's prepared for insertion and reading of the lock. To begin, we're going to open the MAC-C application. It's going to ask us to go to our Wi-Fi connection. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure I press and hold a button to turn on the lock decoder. We're going to tell it yes, and we're going to wait for the Wi-Fi signal MAC-C to appear. There we go, and it is connected to that network. I'm going to hit the back arrow to get back to our MAC-C application. And you can see that it is visible. We're going to insert the tool all the way to the back of the lock, and I'm going to compare this to our chart. And I see that we are looking at the notch portion, so I know that it is a 5 or above. Now I have to decide, is it a 5, a 6, a 7, a 8, or a 9? The instructions tell you to rotate all the way clockwise, all the way counterclockwise, and then back to center. When I rotate that back to center, I see that that is almost to the halfway point of the entire reading area. So that would either be a 7, or it could be a 6 or an 8, but the 7 looks more accurate. It matches the picture almost identical. So we're going to annotate that as a 7. We're going to slide the tool out. Watching the topography, I am not using the spacers. You are more than welcome to do that. All the way right, all the way left. 1, 2, 3. I see 4 clearly. The 5th one is a little bit too high, so I'm going to take this as 4 notches, and I'm going to write that as a 2. I'm going to slide out. And again, nothing wrong with using the spacers, but I just simply don't need to do that on my cell phone this time. Okay, I'm going to move up, down, centered, and I see 3 notches. 1, 2, 3. It also happens to be a 3. The 3 has 3 notches, and this happens to be the 3rd space. We're going to continue to pull it out. Going to go all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and then centered up. Here I can see the notch at the bottom, but I can also see a little bit of the top, little divot. So we're going to treat that as a 5 because it matches that image on our chart. I'm going to pull it out. And it gets a little bit darker because our light has actually exited the keyway. But here I see 1, 2, 3, all the way right, all the way left, dead center. I see 3 notches, so we're going to record that as a 3. And now we're going to go cut that key and check it, but we're going to double check our readings one more time. 3 top notches is a 3. 5 is a big notch at the bottom. 3 top notches is a 3. 4 top notches is a 2. Big notch centered at the bottom is a 7. So team, we cut our key to the cuts. 3, 5, 3, 2, 7. I actually cut it as a 1 first and tried it, and then progressed it down to a 2. That's why it's not a completely flat, smooth, widened cut. So let's give it a shot. And not only does it turn, but it turns essentially frictionless, except when you get right to the top. And the reason there's a little bit of a bind is because it's controlling this cam, and it's overcoming some spring pressure as it turns back and forth, which is the traditional Kwikset locking method, but with the Schlage keyway. A couple of tidbits before we go. This is a Craft cotton tipped cleaning tool. These are the recommended type of tips. They don't leave lint, and they let you easily get to the mirror and clean it. The 5/64 Allen wrench is what we use to swap over from the old key to the new key. I hope this helps, and if you see a bunch of these, might be a good time to pick up one of these tools.